find that old VHS. We're diving deep in cheesy flicks. Yeah, we're on a vintage quest. Low reviews but high on laughs. Let's give these films a cheer. The cult classics, flops and nuts, there are topics this year. We're the Ejectables, rolling back the years, celebrating movies that no one else cheers. From bad hairdos to epic fails, we say it's all good. We're the Ejectables, yeah, we're misunderstood.
Welcome back to the Ejectables, where movie enthusiasts Bill, Ian, and Joe defend movies that have been overlooked. Tonight, we have a guest. Adam is here, and he's going to be defending Plain Clothes. Bill's going to be defending The Matador, and Ian's going to be defending Wilder Napalm, and I'm going to be defending California with a K. But first, let's welcome our guest, Adam. Adam, welcome to the Ejectables. Thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. And you actually are a fellow film school brat, right? You went to AFI, and fun fact, you actually were on our sister show, Stump the Bill, and we're one of the very few people to actually stump Bill.
Impressive.
That's very impressive.
That is correct.
Yeah. So you had us watch Plain Clothes. Talk to us about why this movie should be celebrated.
This is cool. This is a wildly misunderstood movie. At the time when it came out here, I have some notes. The number one movie that weekend, it was April 88. Sorry. It was Beetlejuice.
Never heard of it.
Kind of relevant. Beetlejuice. I'll just read these off. Beetlejuice Colors, Biloxi Blues, The Last Emperor, Return to Snowy River, Moonstruck, Seventh Sign, Bad Dreams, all the way down the Fox and the Hound re-release. Coming in at number 18, Plain Clothes.
Wow,
man,
wow.
Yeah. And below it was the Moderns, the Alan Rudolph film, which is actually a very good film. Paramount did not know what to do with this film. Obviously, tonally, it is it's a comedy. It is a high school comedy, but there is a kind of a convoluted mystery, and I mean convoluted in a good way. It's in the middle of it, and it's directed by Martha Coolidge, who is in the pantheon of 80s female directors, along with Amy Heckerling, Penelope Spheris, and Susan Seidelman. They're all I call them four female punk rock smugglers, because they always try to smuggle punk rock stuff into their mainstream movies, and Martha does that in this movie as well, background characters. She has real authentic punks back there. You can tell they're not movie punk. And it is written by Scott Frank, who went on to do some pretty big things. This is his first produced screenplay, but he went on to write, adapt Out of Sight. He went
Dead Again also.
Dead Again. It was Dead Again. I have it here. Obviously he did
The Queen's Gambit.
Queen's Gambit was the most recent thing. He worked on The Wonder Years, and he did a really underrated film called what is it called? The Lookout. Yeah, The Lookout. Oh, yeah. He wrote and directed that. And there's a lot of cross currents happening in this era. There's a lot of body swap movies happening.
Vice versa.
It was a thing happening in this era for some reason. Vice versa, Dream a Little Dream, Like Father, Like Son, Big.
Yep.
Big.
Yeah.
And then there's these I put this Plain Clothes in another genre, which is it's kind of a body swap movie, because you get a second chance to go to high school, but it's not supernatural. And there's Back to School, Back to the Future, Hiding Out, Undercover, Just One of the Guys, etc.
Soul Man.
Soul Man.
We're going to pretend that didn't exist for today.
Oh man.
And what makes this film so great is I mean, you just look at the opening of this film. You guys all watched it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Look at the opening shot. Look at the
With
way
green lockers.
the green lockers, the,
Mhm.
the shafts of light, the smoke-filled hallways, the heat, right?
Oh, yeah.
She introduces the high school like it's a character in the movie before you even meet Arliss Howard, who is the lead character.
Great point.
Arliss Howard's coming in off of Full Metal Jacket. I believe that this film would be a lot better, a lot more well regarded right now if, let's say, a Nicolas Cage was in it or a John Cusack was in it. But I believe Arliss Howard is perfect for this role. He's got the perfect amount of cynicism, perfect amount of sarcasm. He's perfect. So I like him in this role as it is.
Do you know who else may have auditioned for it in addition to Arliss?
I do not actually, and I even have the Blu-ray right here, and
Well, you were able to get the Blu-ray. That's crazier.
I think Peter O'Toole shot for 2 weeks on this film, and then he was replaced by Arliss.
Oh,
yes, that was no. He was in the role of the Abe Vigoda role. So I mean, I love how she uses like Abe Vigoda in this thing, and Seymour Cassell. You know, always love to see him. Max Perlick's in this thing. You know Max Perlick. He's in every indie movie from like 1988 to 1995.
Beautiful Girls, yeah.
Robert Stack is taking the piss out of himself like he does in Airplane. But I mean, really what I love about this film is just it's a movie. Like most high school movies shot in this era were just pretty blandly shot, right? I mean, there were some great ones like 3 O'Clock High. Obviously, it's a beautifully shot movie, right? Mm-hmm. And Ferris Bueller's Day Off has some nice moments and things like that. But this movie, like you can tell, she took so much care with this material. Like she put so much background action, so many running gags in the movie. Like pencils are a thing in the movie. I don't know if you noticed that. In the scene where she's talking to the chief, the guy from Die Hard, or his sergeant, the guy from, he mixes his coffee with a pencil. Which is an odd character thing, but then pencils, like they're throwing pencils in the ceiling, and then later on, Diane Ladd uses a pen. Is there spoilers? Sorry.
No, it's okay.
No, we don't worry.
Diane Ladd uses a pencil to save his life from.
So, what do you make of that whole pencil symbolism?
Just that she wanted to use the tools of a high school as like a character in the movie. You know what I mean?
There's no deeper meaning necessarily.
Not necessarily. But it's a great, like, this thing has more payoffs and are more setups and payoffs than like, or as many setups and payoffs than like a Back to the Future. Everything in this screenplay that is set up in the first act and is seen throughout pays off in some way, shape, or form toward the end of the movie. And
when I first saw, I'm sorry. Well, I was just going to say when I first saw this on VHS, because I don't know if it got a wide release. It certainly wasn't in my area. But when I first saw it, I liked it more than Back to the Future.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I really love this movie, and it came out of nowhere.
That's great. I didn't even know this movie existed until 2 years ago.
Oh, really?
I happened to watch it at work because we do a lot of Paramount stuff at my work. Oh, wow. And I was like, Plain Clothes, what is this? And I looked it up and I saw Martha Coolidge directed it and Scott Frank wrote it. And I was like, and then I looked up the reviews and like, they're garbage. Like people hate this movie for some reason. Like Janet Maslin, said like, she just outright, like, unless they're uncommonly good, back to high school movies have a way of making audiences count the minutes till graduation. And certainly that's the case with Plain Clothes. It's like, shut up, Janet.
16-year-old loved it.
In a New Yorker article from 2023, right? They were interviewing Scott Frank, and the guy that interviewed him said his first movie, a cop goes undercover in high school stinker called Plain Clothes. This is in 2023.
What?
I don't think Scott Frank likes it though.
Yeah, no, it was his first thing. He was. What do you think of it, Bill?
I love it. I saw it when I was a kid. I love it. I love Martha Coolidge.
Martha.
The plot is awesome. The plotting is fantastic.
Yes.
It's
the music is great.
Thriller. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, it's okay.
No.
The music is fantastic. George Wendt is unbelievable. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. George. I was going to get to George Wendt. George Wendt you know, is great touch at like America's favorite drunk at the time, right? From Cheers is this like whacked out killer guy.
Yeah.
That is great. That is fantastic. And Diane Ladd is great in it. And there's just all these little touches in there that like, it's like very novelistic. If I'm maybe I'm being a little too highfalutin, but like they're just putting so much in it. And I watched the commentary, and it's like the art director and the costumers, and they all collaborated to make this high school just like come to life. And there's so much background action. The cinematography is fantastic. The Steadicam shots, like way more movement and lighting than you would see in a normal comedy, you know, of that era. Like take a comedy right now, the way they shoot comedies, like say a pretty successful comedy recently was the one with Jennifer Lawrence.
No Hard Feelings.
No Hard Feelings, right? But look at it. That movie is so blandly shot. It's just like, here's the camera, flat lighting, let's go, you know? And this movie, the shafts of light, it's like the high school is like a hell that this guy's going into. It's so hot, steamy. It's like Angel Heart in that school.
I think that's why I it. Because I was like,
is Martha Coolidge on the DVD?
She is.
Oh, wow.
You mean like on the cover?
No, on the commentary.
Oh yeah, it's her. It's totally her.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a good commentary track. Mount Rushmore of 80s high school movies? No, I wouldn't say that. I think that's like Fast Times. Last American Virgin is one of my personal favorites.
That's great. Yeah.
And Valley Girl, which is up there, and I cross between and Heathers. Those are my four, but I mean, there's so many other ones that. But this thing just like it was released in like 293 theaters and just pulled after 1 week. It made like $680,000 or something, and it cost $7.5 million to make, which is bigger budget than I thought. It's also set in Seattle, which was a thing happening at this era. So many movies were being shot in Seattle, like or in the Pacific Northwest in general. Stakeout was up there, right? Like Hand That Rocks the Cradle, obviously Drugstore Cowboy, River's Edge, you know, all these. Yeah. There was like a thing happening in the Pacific Northwest at that era. So that's another cross current that's happening. What's that? Goonies, obviously. Yeah. War Games was up there, you know, Kindergarten Cop. Only in the 80s do you have like like these comedies where there's like real stakes and real danger, where you feel like actual menace, you know, like Kindergarten Cop.
It starts with a murder. The movie starts with a guy dead on the class floor.
That's a great shot, by the way. That whole just the feet. You don't see the characters. You just introduce like the high school, you know.
And just why how they kind of reveal. You see the lockers and the movement. You're like, oh, this is weird reveal, and then you see, oh, it's his point of view as he was dying.
Totally
well done.
Great. And then if this movie's remembered for one thing, it's the E.E. Cummings scene. The scene where he reads the poem in the class.
Oh yeah.
The poem about the car, which is really about sex, right? Yeah. It's an assignment that he has for to show what a metaphor is. Mm-hmm. And it is so brilliantly directed. Like he's reading this poem beautifully. The camera slowly moves in on him. And the cutaways are masterful. The cutaways to the students in the class.
The girls shuddering.
The girls are just like getting the vapors and like just like
it's how he wins them over. It's brilliant.
He wins them over. She and the way the teacher, what's her name? Susie Amos takes the thing out of her hair. That movie, that scene I checked on YouTube. That's like the only plainclothes scene I can find on YouTube. So that is the one scene that like does stick in the cultural memory, I think, from this film. I maybe you guys were more familiar with this movie than I was. Obviously you were if you saw it back then, but
I became a big Arliss fan because of this movie. Was I the only one that saw this movie in its day? Did you see it, Bill?
I rented it. I mean, you couldn't see it in the theater. It was like
gone in a week.
To it on the shelves.
It's gone in a week.
It was. It literally was pulled by parents. I don't know. Oh, that's another thing. Martha Coolidge was directing Some Kind of Wonderful. Yeah, and she was 8 weeks into prep on that, and then John Hughes fired her, or just and replaced her with Howard Deutsch. So Paramount gave her this movie because of that, because they felt so bad about it. They're like, here, she read the script, and she like Scott Frank's obviously a talented writer. You can tell by the care of the story and everything. But I just this was a discovery for me like 2 years ago, and I love this film. And when I figured it was just one of those like known high school movies that I just missed, but apparently everyone missed it except
I didn't
you.
know anyone else that knew this film back in the day.
Yeah, exactly. It just got buried. So that's how it fits here in the Ejectables, I believe.
Bravo! Yeah,
sure.
Thanks. That's it.
That was
That's
great.
all I got on Plain Clothes.
Yeah, thank you
and obviously, is there kismet here between Plain Clothes and Wilder Napalm? Was that intentional, all
our movies are Arliss Howard.
He played the Matador in the Matador. It's amazing. And in California, he played the landlord of the trailer.
Oh yeah, he was.
Brad killed.
No, but I mean, there's so many similarities between. And I'd never seen Wilder Napalm.
No. It actually did when you chose this film. I was like, oh, wait a minute. I love that other Arliss Howard movie. So that is
okay.
Right. Yeah.
I did.
Yeah, that's his movie Punk. Mm-hmm.
I did California with a K. I loved this flick. I think that it was extremely ambitious. Like they really tried to get a lot done, which I think I can respect that. And I think that when I left the movie, there's just so many things that happen and certain things I think that were left unresolved. It just is one of those movies that really get you to think. I haven't seen it. This couple decides to go on a road trip, and to cut costs, they want to do a ride share to get to California, and they recruit these two characters, Juliette Lewis and Brad Pitt, and they're not very savory characters, to put it lightly, especially him. And talk about being penny wise and pound foolish, right? Like the stuff that they have to go through. It's just mind boggling how you could be in a situation like that. I really liked the Carrie character, the Michelle Forbes character. She essentially is the girl with the dark black hair, and she plays the bitch, and she's smart. She knows something is up, and the David Duchovny's character Brian is like, oh no, be relaxed, these people are cool, and Carrie's like, yeah, this is a problem. And what I really liked about Michelle Forbes, her portrayal of Carrie, is that she could have really been over the top. Like there's a scene in which they're at this diner, and they're at this diner, they're eating, and he takes off his shoe, and he has this sock that's all ripped and tattered, and you can tell that it hadn't been changed in like what looked like years. And she's at the diner, and she sees this while she's eating, and she could have been really over the top about it, but you see it, and she just had a certain subtlety that I really think was respectable, because we're all with her, a lot of us, in terms of what she's thinking. She's like our touchstone here, and she could have been completely ridiculous and over the top, and she was just really, really subtle and dimensional, because there is this parental thing that goes on, I think, psychologically, in which, the Brad Pitt character early, he protects David Duchovny's character, Brian, in the bar. And then there's that scene with Carrie and the Juliette Lewis character, Adele, and she's like taking care of her and she's protective. So I thought it was a very fascinating flick. And it left me unsettled. Even though it was a nice ending. What did you guys think of it?
I loved this movie in its day. I saw it probably at least twice at the theater, maybe 3 times. Upon revisit, I can't say I got into it as much. And I wonder if like 2 years after the 7 came out, and I think 7 kind of reset the level of comparison. So I think I sort of forgot about this movie at that point, but I loved it when it came out. Trying to revisit it, I was a little bored. But it's hard to judge a movie, but I think it's a good choice. I like how Juliette Lewis and Brad Pitt speak. He speaks to her as from the perspective of like George in Of Mice and Men to Lenny. She's like, tell me about California. And he's like, well, it's like this. It's just like Mice and Men to me.
Good point.
But yeah, it's fun. It's a good time.
I liked it a lot more when I first saw it in the 90s on video. I have to admit, but It's got that. It's the most 90s look 90s to ever 90s. I mean, it's Dominique Sena. He knows how to shoot. He was a music video guy. There are some gorgeous shots in the movie. And I love that opening, that like twist, that weird opening where you think that the woman's getting in the car and that's the menace, but yeah, I love that. And he throws the rock and kills them. But yeah, I figured one thing that would really improve this movie is get rid of that voiceover.
Really?
Yeah. I think that voiceover is not doing anything for the movie, and I think it's telling us everything that we could be figuring out. I think we'd be more engaged if we didn't hear that voiceover.
I wonder if they had to add it later on, like after
because audiences were like, I don't know motivation and what's going on. Yeah. And then there's a direct line in the movie where Duchovny says, like, I don't like to. I as a writer, I can't use cliches or something like that. And it's like the Brad Pitt character is pretty cliche.
I was thinking like and not to get political, but I think he's how us in blue states see MAGA people.
Yeah. Oh, I thought it was very, like, I did notice at this time, very prescient. He's like into conspiracy theories. He's got like the Brad Pitt character. He's like, yeah, they're flying people to the moon all the time. And breakfast is actually, that is true though. Breakfast was created by like like the most important meal of the day. That whole thing, it was brought on by like food companies to sell more cereal and stuff like that.
What do you think would have made the Brad Pitt character less cliche? Because I understand he's a type, but I mean, we're dealing with archetypes, obviously. I mean, these are, you know what I mean? These characters.
Yeah.
What would
I think that was their attempt.
Yeah.
Was that he was conspiracy? He reads books, they say, and he's into conspiracy theories. And I think that I don't know. I just something a little more. Just something more surprising about him. Like
what I found surprising, what was really cool was there's a scene in which Carrie, the bitch character, smart one too, she's like taking pictures of these sites because that's the whole point of the trip. Like he's writing a book about these infamous places where murders have taken place, and she's a photographer, so she wants to get to California. That's why she's going on the trip. So she's taking photos of these different sites, and there is a scene in which Brad Pitt's character Early is in front of her camera, and he doesn't realize like he's in the way, and he's like, he puffs his chest out. He wants attention from her, right?
Oh yeah.
Which was so cool, I thought, because I thought that was just interesting. And you did actually see, and I left this showed dimensionality of this otherwise trite character. You know, you saw a very, very subtle like hurt look when Carrie's like, get out of the way, Early. Can you get out of the way? You're in the shot. And I thought that was really interesting. And I thought it was interesting that his character, I think it was after that, had the Juliette Lewis character, Adele, he cut her hair short to make it look like hers. So I did think there was just some interesting nuances in his character to make it less stark.
That was the most interesting part of the movie on this watch for me, was the transference. Yeah. The transference between that he wanted to put Juliette Lewis into her. And that stuff was really
because really she rejected him. Is that what you think, or you think he was just hot for her?
I think it was both. I mean, I think he was attracted to her from the word go, because he sees her as sophisticated,
and she's a challenge because she doesn't like him.
Yeah.
Back in the day, like, I don't think I recognized how great Juliette Lewis was.
So good, right?
Stand out in this film. I thought Brad Pitt was back then. Now I think he's more kind of a caricature. But she's amazing. Like, I buy everything she does in this film. She's definitely worth seeing for her.
I think she must have definitely gotten it from Cape Fear, like her character in Cape Fear. And from this, she probably got Natural Born Killers. Like,
there was Natural Born, right?
There's a direct line there. Yeah, she's great in this.
Really.
For sure.
So, Ian, what was your movie?
So I did the Arliss Howard starring film directed by Glenn Gordon Caron, a romantic comedy called Wilder Napalm. There it is right there on your screens. And this is a film written by Vince Gilligan, if I'm saying his last name right, who we know from Breaking Bad. And it's a story about two brothers who have the power to start fires with their brains, who are both vying for the attention or fighting for the attention of Deborah Winger, who is an arsonist under house arrest. And this film, it came out of nowhere. Like Plain Clothes, I never saw this come in a theater near me, but it came to, I think I first saw it on Laserdisc. And I was like, this movie, it's so different. It's quirky. It's weird. It's imperfect, but that doesn't matter to me because I think the things that are good here, the music, the charm, the fun the actors are having, I think it makes it shine beyond anything that could make it not seem good. But I know Bill might have other opinions about this film.
I think there's a great movie struggling to come out. The second half is 1,000 times better than the first half.
So stick around for the second half.
Yeah, I think that with a different director, it's a very gothic style movie, and I don't know if Glenn Gordon Caron, the guy who created Moonlighting, was the right guy for this. But there's such amazing shots in it. The shot where the miniature golf place. I mean, that's all real.
Yeah, the effects are amazing.
That was beautiful.
I mean, it's better than any Marvel movie. It's nuts.
I agree.
You know?
And the Clean and Sober guy. He directed Clean and Sober.
Oh, that's a good movie.
No,
Yeah.
I know. It's good.
Yeah.
And he went from that to the.
I felt like he was a little bit out of his league. Like the beginning was brutal, like not like it was like weird, right?
The very beginning, I think, was slightly weird, but I think once it got rolling 3 minutes in, I was like, yeah.
Arliss Howard was great. And you could tell that Vince Gilligan was going to go places. The next movie he did, he got stabbed on the X-Files, and then he did Home Fries.
Yeah,
And then after that, Home Fries with Dean Parasol directed it. Very dark comedy, also. That's
okay.
Yeah,
You did Hancock.
Yeah, well, he did. He rewrote Hancock.
Okay.
And then Barry Levinson found the script because he was trying to usher in new people. So everyone's like, "How did this movie get made?" I don't know who made more money, Wilder Napalm or Plain Clothes, because this movie made like no money, barely released.
It probably cost more, given the effects and everything. It's so
couldn't
good.
find a budget on it. Yeah.
Quaid,
Dennis Quaid. I forgot that Dennis Quaid can be that wild.
Yeah,
you know, see the substance, because I think in the substance, shows a little bit of what he shows in Wilder Napalm. I'm like, oh, okay. Good.
You know what I got a big vibe from this movie? I don't think if this movie didn't exist, I don't think The Boys would exist. You know that series, The Boys, on Amazon?
Yeah, but I know it.
It's kind of in a weird way like grounded superhero stuff because they have these powers, right? And they of course, if you had those powers, it probably would be like this for The Boys, where you go on Letterman and do stupid pet tricks for money, or like do TV ads and stuff like that. It's like real life, like what a superhero would be like if, and it's not a superhero movie, I know, but I think it's kind of like,
you're right,
itching at that.
It's almost like an origin story for a superhero movie.
Yeah, or like what was it, Unbreakable? You know, like it's like, I don't think that would exist either. But I just love the world that this movie paints. I love that strip mall that he works in that no one's ever at.
It's like the most depressing town, yet they're so happy to be in this town. It's
exactly. And the similarities between there's a carnival, obviously, in Wilder Napalm. There's a big carnival scene at the end of Plain Clothes. There's just some kismet there. There's just some parallels there that I love.
Had you not seen it before, Adam?
I had not. I loved it. I loved it.
Yay. Okay. So
I heard it. When I worked at a video store, I always saw the video cover for it, like Wilder Napalm. That sounds weird. I had no idea Vince Gilligan wrote it.
I didn't either until I did this. I'm like, oh, that's cool.
When I saw that, then it was great. And then the scene where he melts the air conditioner. How did they do that? You remember?
It's so good.
It's all real time. It's like crazy.
Yeah. The New York Times said this is somewhere on the cusp of inspired to flat out unreleasable.
I agree 1000%.
Well, my one impression of it was it's like Scanners or Carrie meets Raising Arizona.
There you go.
That's perfect. Yeah.
That's what I got out of it. I bought this fantastical world more than the movie that Bill's about to talk about. We'll get there.
The emotions, not to go on about this any longer, but the emotions I thought were very real, and the touching scene when you see that the kids have accidentally killed this man in a cabin, and then it goes to the singing firemen. And
there you go.
Dude,
that hit hard. That was so impactful. Like the emotional scenes that are supposed to be emotional really felt emotional. Like when he's breaking the hole on the roof of that fire, and the water comes down and it elicits the flashback. It's just
you see the reflection. You see the reflection in the face mask. I mean, that's all real, dude.
Yeah,
that's all real. And I'm watching the miniature golf scene with the wraparound shot. I was like, this has to be a backdrop, right? And it's not. It's crazy. I mean, that is insane. That is so nuts.
It's an artifact from another era, and I love it. And it's like a movie like this, and it could be said for Plain Clothes. It could be said for Wilder Napalm. Mm-hmm. Major studios will not touch these things with a 10-foot pole anymore.
Yeah,
you know. And now, back then, they were putting these movies out. Somehow, these things were getting made, finding theatrical releases,
and taking huge risks.
Yeah. I miss those days.
So do I.
Bill, what did you do?
So I picked the Matador. 2005. It's a Miramax release.
Born. Huh.
barely released. Written and directed by Richard Shepard, who's an awesome writer director. I love this movie. It's quirky. I love the theme about forgiveness, and it follows a bisexual hitman as he confronts a guy who's suffering from real loss in Mexico City. And I feel like they really shot in these different places where he has a friend. He's lonely. He's a mess. And he befriends this guy down on his luck, this guy, Greg Kinnear, who is teetering on bankruptcy with his business and needs a big sale down there. And he's recovering from the loss of his son that died in a bus crash. And it's about an unlikely friendship, and they reveal a lot of stuff. I'm not going to ruin it. The ending is amazing. There's one weird scene where I think the studio gave Hope Davis. Someone's like, Hope, we got to give Hope Davis some stuff, because my girlfriend walked in at the time on the seat. She's like, what is this movie? It's like such weird backstory that's so not important. Kinnear is awesome. Pierce Brosnan is as wacky as he can be.
As good as ever.
Yeah. And it was a real ballsy move of Pierce to play a bisexual hitman. Definitely dealing with alcoholism. I think it's one of the best movies of the 2000s.
I agree. Whoa. I saw this when it came out, and I remember really liking it. Didn't remember a thing about it, but I knew I liked it. So when you chose this, I rewatched it, and I forgot how unpredictable it is. It's so lovely how it does not go anywhere you're expecting it to go. It is such a charmer. It's so sweet, kind of sad, and just it's a lovely film.
What do you think, Adam?
I love Pierce Brosnan in it. I love his character. I love that character. I think that character in this movie is great. I don't buy it's a heavy lift for me to believe that the Greg Kinnear character would keep coming back to this guy. I know that he would even, like in that first bar scene, that he would even connect with him in any way. But that Pierce Brosnan, I think it's a great movie. I mean, it had some Grosse Pointe Blank vibes for me, which I love. Grosse Pointe Blank. This movie, I would put a step below that, but I do love Pierce Brosnan playing against type, taking the piss out of his James Bond character.
He was like, I'm done. Yeah. I'm going to be in my black tidy waddies
and boots,
walking in boots and diving into a shark
sticking
film.
His dick in everything.
It's crazy.
All the sex stuff is hilarious. Like, I hate these Catholic countries, all blushy and no sucky fucky. That line is freaking crazy. And then Philip Baker Hall later. I love Philip Baker Hall.
Yeah,
I mean, if you have Philip Baker Hall in your movie, you're already there. A simple. I like. What did he say? What are you gonna waste your day picking up illiterate teenagers for suck and fuck suck and fuck sessions at the Old Navy, you know, in that Philip Baker hallway. Like the movie, he just drops those lines. I think those would totally turn off like the Greg Kinnear character.
There's no swearing on our show, Adam. Just you.
Oh,
Nope.
oh,
You're good. You're good. Sure.
No. So yeah, I mean, those lines made me laugh out loud. And it was a brave performance from Pierce Brosnan, but I just didn't buy the Kinnear relationship. Sorry.
It's okay. I forgive you. I love the music also.
Oh yeah, great needle drops. The Jam and the Cramps.
The
Like
Killers.
the Killers, unexpected needle drops in this thing. And Richard Shepard, I had not seen any of his stuff. Like I know he did like the one with Jude Law couple years ago. What was it called?
I know he did The Hunting Party, which is a good movie.
That's another video, by the way, that was in the video store record, the Linguini incident.
Oh,
I've
wow.
never seen that movie. Have you seen it?
I feel like I did.
It's David Bowie. I got to see this movie. Like reading about it, like I've got to see this movie. But that was, I believe his first movie.
Okay. I may have seen it.
Okay, so listen. So you can't pick your own movie. What movie do you guys vote for? Joe, what movie do you vote for?
Plainclothes.
Plainclothes. Okay. Adam?
Wilder Napalm.
Wilder Napalm.
Oh, that's
You
hard.
can't pick your own movie.
I picked two.
No, you can't go with one.
Oh shoot. I think I'm gonna go with Matador. The Matador.
So I'm the factor. Okay. I'm gonna go with Plainclothes. And Plainclothes gets the Samurai Cop pick of the week.
I love that. That's great. All right. Well, you heard it here, folks. You got to watch Plainclothes. And well, thank you, Adam, for coming on tonight and celebrating Plainclothes. Now we know what we need to watch. Clearly.
Right on.
Right? And if anybody is looking for screenplay coverage, well, go to grittandscript.com and we'll help you with your screenwriting needs. The link to that is in the description below. And you can check all of that out. So thank you, everybody, for joining at home. And we shall for sure see you next time.
Pop the popcorn, grab a Coke, and find that old VHS. We're diving deep